Welcome to the Film Thread Podcast live here at HollyShorts. Thank you, everyone. Well, you can applaud. It's okay. It's customary to applaud. Thank you. This is first of all, I'm so excited to be here. Theo Dumont actually invited me to HollyShorts, and I tell people about HollyShorts all the time. It's in terms of short film festivals, this is one of the best in the world. So for those of you who have who are short filmmakers here, a lot of short filmmakers, yes, great. Then this is going to be an even more interesting conversation because the subject of this podcast / panel is your short film sucks. And I say this only because I have seen a lot of bad short films. I've also seen some of the most amazing short films also at this festival. So I'm really happy that you're all here to engage in this conversation. Before we get started with the topic at hand, I'd like to introduce my esteemed panel. These are all people that I work with at Film Thread. Alan Ng, the managing editor of Film Thread.
Hello.
Woo! Dante James, contributing editor of FilmThread.com. My producing partner, Jess Pino, also works on content, original content for our YouTube channel, Jess Pino. Bobby Schwartz, new addition, he is our head of original content for our Film Thread YouTube channel. And my co-host for the podcast, you've heard him for nearly 100 episodes of this podcast, Anthony Ray Bench.
How's it going, everybody?
Also a critic at FilmFest.com. So let's talk about your short film sucks. All of you in this room who are filmmakers have all been rejected from film festivals. You've also been accepted into film festivals. And you've probably scratched your head and wondered, why was I rejected from Sundance? Why was I rejected from this festival but accepted into that festival? Well, I'm going to do my best along with the panel to answer that question. And I want to kick it off with the panel, and we will go to questions from the audience. So if you're formulating your question, please hold it to the end. We're going to talk for about 20 minutes, then we'll do 20 minutes of questions. But I want to talk to our panel and find out what really makes a great short film. What's a short film? And I'll kick it off. So you guys think about what are the elements of a great short film. And I'll tell you what about a short film that I saw years ago, more than 15 years ago, and I've never forgotten this short film. You can look it up on YouTube. It's called Culture, and it's directed by a guy named Ari Gold. And I don't mean Ari Gold, the fictional character from that HBO show. Entourage. That's no longer on the air. Yes, exactly. Ari Gold is a real person. He's one of the Gold brothers. He made a short film called Culture that is 1 minute long. And when I saw this film at Sundance, it got nearly a standing ovation every time it screened. I mean, people erupted in applause. Basically what happens in this short, which you can find on YouTube, just look up Culture, Ari Gold, you'll find it, you can watch it during the panel, you can put it in your history. That's what I do with my YouTube. Put a lot of things in history, I watch it later. That's how that's a little pro tip. But this short is really fascinating because it's basically Ari Gold acting out an action film, and you can't, if you're listening to this as a podcast, you're not, but I'm acting out like he's shooting guns, he's doing like little gun actions, he's doing all the sort of cliche things you would see in some big action movie. Some of it is acted out in slow motion, and at the end something shocking happens. So this short is 1 minute long. He did the entire short in one take, and he shot it on 16 millimeter. I've never forgotten that short. I recommend that short all the time because it follows my one rule for what makes a great short film. A great short film should be really short. And if there's one note I could give to every short filmmaker, it's that I think your film could be a little shorter. I think it could be a little shorter. That's just my one note. So, starting off with that, I'd like to ask each person on our panel to give your impression of what makes a great short. Is also there a great short film that, by example, you could say, I never forgot this, or there's something that happened in that short film? So let's start off with you, Alan. You've seen also, and Alan, by the way, if you just look up Alan Ng's name on the Film Threat, filmthreat.com, he reviews a lot of short films, and was at Palm Springs. So Alan, take it from here.
All right. Well, for me, I think I would say purpose. Why are you making this particular short film? Is it because you have a great story, a great punchline? Are you trying to try something new in terms of visual effects, in terms of cinematography? But have a reason. This is your chance to experiment. This is your chance to try something new, to grow. I see a lot of short films that really don't have a plot or a story or some kind of a semblance of story, but a lot of times I'll see what that filmmaker is trying to do, and that says a lot about what that particular short is.
What that was an amazing answer. This is.
Oh, yeah? I have a bunch of them.
We should be compiling a list.
Episode over. That was it.
Let's see. Short, purpose. Dante James. You've also seen your share of shorts in your time.
Yeah, too many.
Yeah. Is there one you want to talk about as a standout, or is there some one that you want, or is there something that you can tell us?
Yeah, I mean, and kind of like what Alan was saying, I think, and you as well, I think the qualifications or what is considered a short nowadays has changed a lot since my early days, like back at USC. I remember when a short film was considered 15 minutes at the longest. And so now I think a short film is considered anything under a feature. Which can be 60 minutes, and if you call that a short, I mean, come on, But something, I guess for me, what I would consider a good short is something that can tell a story, that can just tell a story in a short amount of time. If you got 15 minutes, I want to see something that has a beginning, middle, and an end. I know I went to one festival where I saw a short where they spent 5 minutes on a condom in a pool, and then it turned out to be a movie about a girl dealing with the death of her father, and you didn't get that at all from the film at all. I had no idea that's what it was about. Someone had to tell me after the thing that the film that's what it was about.
You weren't informed of all of that subtext from the condom shot?
No. Just a condom floating for 5 minutes. I didn't get that.
I think that's like a double thing. Clarity is important. Unless the condom is your lead character, which you could do, an anthropomorphized condom with little legs and googly eyes. You could do that in this short, but that was not. I'm going to guess that wasn't it.
That's our next film original, right?
Yeah, it could.
Why not? But no, I guess a short that I consider really well done was a short by a director named Matt Wilson, who directed a short called Brand. And the reason why it was good was because, he wasn't tackling anything that was, untouched by Hollywood, but it was about just a guy who uploaded his consciousness into a computer. But it was so well done and done in a short amount of time. And he told a story from A to Z that, and of course the dialogue was beautiful. I just felt like he told a story. He did an actual short and not a proof of concept for a bigger movie.
Oh, see, that's a thing that you see a lot, is short filmmakers saying, well, this is like a scene from my feature script, which is why it doesn't really have a beginning, middle, and end. It's sort of a tone poem. I feel that can be frustrating when you kind of get the sense like, oh, this is you're building up to do the feature. This is just the first act, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You get that a lot. So that I would. Oh wow, that's really good, Dante. Great. Jess, what do you have as a short film that you've seen that you thought was exceptional, and then also something that makes a great short?
Yeah, of course. I mean, everything everybody's saying is totally on par, and I think that a lot of times what you're missing is people are just not bringing across the fun that they're having. A short film is small in its length, but it doesn't have to be small in what it's trying to portray. I used to work with a film festival here in LA called Shriek Fest, which is all horror films, and a lot of short horror films went through there. So there's one that always stood out to me called Jack Attack. I can't remember the filmmakers, but it was all about an anthropomorphized pumpkin. that was terrorizing these kids, and it was very fun to watch. And they had a story, beginning, middle, and end. It wasn't too serious. And the filmmakers, when you met them afterwards, were very fun as well. And so that kind of came across, and it made you want to share it with other people. And I've always remembered that, because I think that a lot of times filmmakers, especially when they're starting out, are so serious about their craft, and they should be. They forget why it's so fun to do this as something, either a career or just as a pastime.
So filmmakers you want to party with and have fun with is, I think that's a good rule. Bobby, you've made your share of shorts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you've also seen your share.
Mm-hmm.
What would you add?
I think this is all right.
Yeah.
I think I would kind of echo similar sentiments to what everybody's been saying before. Particularly, Alan, you mentioned just keeping it short and focused. I think, like, less so for me with the narrative, but as a whole, like Chris mentioned, I've made my fair share of short films and gotten into a couple of festivals, and I think the biggest thing that I see is short filmmakers forget the medium that they're working in. Understand your medium. It's short. You have way less movie to make mistakes. So when you do make them, they stand out very clearly, because there's not 2 more hours of other things to distract you. And I think that people will tend to develop their short films as if they're going to be features, and you end up with a lot of weird elements left over, like condom shots in the pool that maybe had a place in a longer movie. But a short film, you only have so much time to deliver a message, and short films have a power over features because you can deliver that message quicker. I think you also have the potential of leaving a more having that film resonate with people a little bit longer after they've seen it. They've digested a little bit quicker, and but people are still kind of developing it with the notion of this is a feature. You kind of lose track of things. Yeah, I would just say at large, just stay focused. Things get out of control really quick in productions, and the biggest thing that I've learned is, when I started making short films, there's this notion that there's something, at least for me, I thought that making features I thought there was a larger difference between them, and really it's the same process. And I think that with with the same amount of work going into a short, it's easy to let that get muddled. And I didn't keep my answer short and focused. I make better short films than I make panel responses. But
it's interesting because they're live tweeting this right now, and hashtag condom shots is trending. Condom shots is currently trending.
That's because of me.
I wouldn't search that hashtag.
Taking it over.
Anthony, same question. What
was the question?
The question is, is there a short film that you saw that you never forgot, that left an impression on you, that really impressed you? And is there something that you learned from that you would ascribe an idea of, this is what makes a great short? We're trying to collect a list of the things that make a great short film.
Okay. To make a great short film, in my opinion, first and foremost, make it entertaining. I don't want to see that 5-minute condom shot at all.
I'm going to be known for the condom shot. I'm going to be known for it.
I really want to see it now.
As far as some short films that really impressed me, I have a list because my brain's kind of wacky right now.
Because of the wine.
Yeah.
Some of the panelists came prepared with lists. This is amazing, Anthony. I'm impressed.
So probably one of my favorites. I'm a big comic book geek. If you guys haven't listened to the podcast, me and Chris, geek out over comics all the time.
I'm already picking the answer. Yeah.
And one of my favorite comic book characters is Venom. And while I'm unsure about what Sony's going to do with the character, I'm actually pretty worried. There was a fan film done by director Joe Lynch, a friend of Film Threat, who did a film called Truth in Journalism. And it's very cool. The thing I like about short films and fan films is that they can take these characters and they don't need to appeal to a wider audience. This is a passion project. They could, do obscure stuff from the comics. They can really, you know, kind of nail the character down. They don't have to, you know, find a star that does its own thing, kind of like Robert Downey Jr. did with Iron Man. Moving away from the fan short films, another one I really liked that I saw recently is called The Reception, and it's written and directed by Joe Gillette. And it's basically this 10 to 15 minute, I don't remember how long it is, but it's like just a meet cute. It's just two characters meeting and kind of, you know, flirting a lot. When you watch a feature film, it's usually just one scene and then it, you know, kind of goes away. This is like really like kind of extended out. Like you see these people meet, you see them flirt, you see, you know, them kind of ask each other out on a date. It's almost kind of uncomfortable to watch a little bit. But I thought it was fascinating, and that one really, really left an impression. I don't care if short films are wacky or out of context, or if it's just a random scene, as long as it's entertaining. I think a big thing you need to look out for is pacing, though. Because, again, we do not need that 5-minute shot of the condom, Dante.
To add to what you guys were saying, I know I mentioned Ari Gold earlier. I'll mention another short film, his follow-up short film to Culture, which actually ties into something I would add to what makes a great short. And what makes a great short, I believe, is creativity, in the sense that I believe expectations are lower than, say, if you're seeing a feature, you have a certain set of expectations. When you're seeing a short, your expectations, I think, are managed. What Ari did, his second short film is a movie called Helicopter, which is also on YouTube. I highly suggest you put that into your watch history right now as you're looking at your black mirrors on your phones during the panel. The movie Helicopter is about the death of his mother. And his mother died tragically in a helicopter accident in San Francisco. And Ari wanted to illustrate this in a short film. He did not have access to an actual helicopter or Hollywood-style level special effects. So what he did is he played phone messages from his real mother, sort of mixing a little bit of doc and a little bit of narrative, and he showed toys. He actually illustrated the scene with toys that a child might have, of a helicopter. There's even a funeral procession with cars, and he uses toy cars, but combined with the real audio, it's heart-wrenching. So this is someone trying to do a helicopter scene, obviously one of the most tragic, horrible moments of Ari's real life, and he illustrates it with toys and real audio. This is the power that you have. You don't need money. I believe money is always an excuse to not make a movie. It's bullshit, and I know this. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Wait, let's get that applause going.
Yeah.
Give us that applause. We'll take
Yes,
it.
because
Feed off of it.
But I've always thought this, because I see a lot of indie films, and it's never the person with the most money makes the best movie. That's only in politics. That's the person with the most money gets elected, right? Oh wait, sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes
It's
you
not
need...
a hard and fast rule regardless.
It's not a hard and fast rule. Sometimes you need some hackers, whatever. But the point is that the person with the most money doesn't always win. It's the person that is the most creative. And so I would end our, on the positive side rules with that. And let's talk about why your short film sucks. So we're going to end with that, and then we'll open up to Q&A. But Anthony, I want to stay with you, and then work our way back this direction. But what are the mistakes that you see in a lot of short films? Ones that get really bad reviews on Film Threat. What are the ones that like what are the mistakes that short filmmakers can avoid if they just knew this one thing, this one important thing? It's the ultimate nullifier. That's a Fantastic Four reference. So forget it. He brought up comic books. Yeah. I was throwing out a little. That's a deep cut for anybody.
That's a very deep cut.
That's a very deep cut.
Right.
What's the thing that they need to know to avoid the one mistake?
Okay. So in my opinion, the one mistake is trying to be too artsy-fartsy, where only one person knows what the film is trying to say, and that's the filmmaker.
Yeah, artsiness is not an excuse to not give us information.
Yeah.
Like, I see that all the time.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, oh, I guess I had a good time. Yeah.
It's frustrating. Even if you want to do something kind of weird and David Lynchian, it's got to be visually powerful. It's got to kind of assault the senses in a lot of ways. If it's just a fucking condom for 5 minutes.
I'm really not gonna live that down.
No, you're not. Sir.
Hashtag condom shot.
Did you direct that short? That's you, right?
Dude, I had to
It
sit
feels
through
like it's your fault.
Not my movie.
Yeah.
You're obviously trying to say something, and it's just gonna lose the audience. And in my opinion, that's the biggest offense. It's got to have some sort of context, even if the context is out of order.
Yeah, I agree, and I think to build off that, and maybe even sculpt my original point a little bit better. I think the biggest dilemma is trying to do too much. And again, coming back to knowing your medium. If you've chosen short format film, don't try to fit in the amount of plot that a feature might try to introduce to you. I think I see a lot of shorts that for as packed as you can. 7 minutes is a sweet spot for me. I know some here were, longer than that for sure, and not to say that you
60
can't.
fucking minutes. 60 minutes.
Just the condom floating.
Yeah. No, that's the next one. It's a little longer. I think, but yeah, trying to do too much with it, and really ultimately, you can tell with those shorts, because we'll give them bad reviews. You can see almost from the trailer sometimes of a short that they didn't know really what they were making before they started shooting, and that's and sometimes money and circumstances with shorts make you as a filmmaker feel pressured to just make decisions. Because that's your job, you're there to answer questions, you're there to execute, you have to make the movie, but it shouldn't be, particularly with the short, because you have so much less movie. Quality should never be sacrificed, maintain the creativity.
Oh no, I totally
Jess.
agree with you. When I was in film school, I saw a lot of times, because we would make short films in our film clubs, and I think that the less pre-planning you did, the worse off it came out. And if you had a clear vision and you allowed somebody to take that from you and you didn't stand your ground, that's when it became a mess. Somehow somebody decided that they were going to be a producer and they came in and said, I think we should shoot it this way. And the director or the filmmaker bowed to them because they had been there longer or they feel like they have more experience. If you don't stick to your vision and you've pre-planned it and you know exactly what you're trying to say, I think that a lot of times that message gets lost. And that's what I think, you really have to be clear, like what you were saying, to have a clear idea, a vision, a plan, execute it well, have everybody on the same page. And of course, yeah, you can feel pressured, especially with such small time, little budget, but that's not an excuse not to make it happen.
Dante.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's decibels.
I know, right? I think for me personally, I think a lot of filmmakers who do shorts, I don't know how much input they get on their film. And what I mean by that is I feel like, for lack of a better word, I have seen a lot of pretentious short films. And I've given a lot of bad reviews to pretentious short films. And I think, look, I understand if you have a vision, right? It's your vision. You don't want anybody to deter you from it. It's, you're giving the FU to the studios because this is your vision. This is your dream. But at the same time, you kind of have to ask yourself, is this a movie that people want to see? Not just my vision. Would someone sit in a theater and actually watch this shit? No, really. And
a lot of people don't ask themselves that question.
no, that's a question that needs to be asked.
It seems obvious.
Do people want to see this? And I've worked on short films with very, egotistical directors
That's sad.
who just wouldn't listen to to their production crew, who wouldn't listen to their actors, who wouldn't listen to anybody, and they end up making just the worst shit I've ever seen. And I feel like, you know, it's cool to have an idea of what you want to do, but making a movie, man, it's not. There's a lot of moving parts, and you have to be very cognizant of those moving parts. And just because something looks great on paper doesn't mean it's going to translate on film. And you got to get that input from other people. You know, be flexible. You know, be willing to cut some scenes that don't need to be there. You know, be willing to, you know, adjust the script a little bit. You know, just be flexible. Yeah, be flexible.
All right. And Alan.
Dante, you took mine. Been sitting here thinking, oh, I got a great one here, and Dante takes it. So I'm going to just piggyback on that. You know, Dante addressed, you know, getting input while you're filming it or while you're producing it. I'm saying get input after you're done. You know, show it to your friends, and then insist and demand that your friends be absolutely honest with you, and don't hate them for when they are honest with you. I mean, the reality is you have a story to tell. You have a purpose in your film. You have an idea you're trying to get across. And if your friends aren't getting that story or that idea, then there's something wrong with what you have going. I mean, that's your job as a filmmaker, is to take what is passionate to you and convey it to audiences. And if you're unable to do that, then, I mean, it's a little harsh, but you've kind of failed at that point.
And I would end with saying, I think that some of the best short films I also have seen have been about tone. Where maybe story wasn't a big part of it, but there's a tone that the director created that I found compelling, that I never forgot, that made me think that's someone to watch. And I think, as we've discussed on the podcast many times, directing is really about tone management. That's your job, is tone management as a director, for the directors that are here. So I think that was a great list. So thank you guys for sharing. Thank you. Yes. You're welcome to applause. I'd like to hear if we have some questions before we move on to our next topic for the evening. So what questions do you guys have? We've probably got about 5 or 10 minutes or so for questions. If you have a question, I'll come to you with the microphone. Yes, sir. Paul, I know you. You're going to ask a question. Paul, what's your question? I'll repeat the question. What? Yes, okay, this is a good one. Wow. What short films stuck with you guys because of how bad they were?
Well, you already know mine.
Right. What's weird is that I don't really, the bad ones don't really, because I feel like if it's really bad, that made an impression on me because I remembered it. I mean, Bambi Meets Godzilla, I saw when I was a little kid. I mean, it's a 16 millimeter animated short that's about a minute long. You can look it up on YouTube. It's that's one. I mean, it's cheesy, it's weird, but the bad ones, one that I really disliked. I don't know. Any bad short films that stood out to you guys?
So many.
Okay, well, yeah, mention it. But what was wrong with it? What was the thing that made you remember that it was?
I think the I don't even know if it's online. It's something I saw when I was in school, and
La Jetée. Was it La Jetée? I'm kidding. That was for all the short filmmakers who had to watch that in film school. That was no one listening to this is
another deep cut.
That's a very deep cut. Yes, La Jetée.
The thing that kills me is not when a short is bad, because there's so many bad shorts. People are making them every day. There's one happening right now. They just wrapped, and you're gonna watch
it. They're filming it right now.
Yeah, this is it.
Right now. It's being filmed as we speak.
But the thing that really kills me is when you actually have a great concept, like when the idea behind it is solid, and the execution, you don't stick the landing. That kills me even more. The short I'm thinking of in particular, and I'm sure I won't explain it well, but if you can get in my head a little bit as a fan of Ghostbusters, it was like it was actually like 3 years before the all-female Ghostbusters movie came out, but it was all females, and there was they were kind of dealing with school at the same time. It was a very interesting. I could see a show made out of it, but the tone that I know that they wanted was not in the short. Like, it was in their poster. Their poster looked like the movie I wanted to see, but the short didn't look like that at all. And the weird thing is, I could tell the director too, you know, she made the poster. She knew what it was, but she couldn't bring it into the finish line. And so somewhere in the production, the exact situation you were talking about, which almost gave me like Vietnam flashbacks of like a producer coming into the fold, they want to help you make your movie, and then suddenly it's their movie. And you know, you have to kind of straddle this weird line of like, all right, I understand you're going to help me, but I still need to really value the fact that like the version of it that I saw is the one that, you know, people will want to see after you get it out there. So, you know, there's definitely politics that come into play when that's the situation. But
I think we have time for maybe one more question. Anyone have a question that they would like to ask our panel about shorts? Oh, there's two people that have, okay, well, maybe we'll get real quick. Sir, yes, it's right in the back. What is your question? I'll repeat it loudly.
But we still see a lot of artsy, crappy, wacky films in the major film festivals. Why is that?
Did you say wanky?
Wacky.
Yeah. Oh, I like the term wanky. I think I can discern the meaning from the context. But what?
That's a very good question, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why so
I got
many
an
arts?
answer.
Is it because people making short films feel like they must say something important when really they can, in 5 minutes, that's not necessary? They've got to make a... Yeah, I mean, I saw, I gotta say, see, I don't want to call out the filmmaker, but I saw a short film that I thought was really bad, and it was trying to tackle all of racism in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're not gonna do it. It's not, this isn't happening, it's not there. And
a longer film.
I feel like biting off more than you can chew. You don't have to, not every short has to solve every problem in the world. We're not gonna solve the social ills from a short. We may bring up issues, but I think trying to solve that in 10 minutes is a lofty goal. So wanky, I think wanky is the new wanky shorts. Hashtag wanky shorts. I think there should be a wanky shorts program. Yes, the wanky shorts at HollyShorts is going to. Someone needs to get the .com.
that's our film
But his
festival.
question was, why do they make it into the festivals?
Why do they make it into why do they make it into festivals? I think it's because getting into the mind of festival directors, they also want to say, I'm really making an important decision by putting this into a festival because it deals with an important social issue that should be brought to light, that I think is obvious to everyone, but needs to be brought to light, and it's not going to be solved by that. So I don't know. I really think it's people. I actually think that the intention from where it comes is a good place. I think it comes from a good place. The filmmaker's trying to say something important. The festival director is trying to highlight movies that deal with social issues. I happen to be personally a fan of social issue documentaries. Are like my favorite type of documentaries. So I understand the place it comes from, but I don't think I think that's really difficult to tackle in short format, right? Because if they can't do it in a 5-minute segment on CNN or MSNBC, it's not going to happen in a short film. We're not going to solve it, right? It's just not. It requires a longer conversation.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to comment on that?
I would say this happens almost every week at Film Thread, where we get a film and I'm watching it and I'm thinking to myself, you know, because we really do want to support the independent filmmaker, but I keep thinking to myself, am I too stupid to watch this film? You know, why do I not get these references? Why do I not understand, you know, what they're trying to get across? And if I review it, are they going to come back and say, well, you're a moron? And I think it just comes down to the idea of, you know, are you making this short or this film for yourself or for audiences? If you're doing it for audiences, then you've got to have your audience in mind and the way you communicate your ideas. But if you're doing it for yourself, then don't submit it to a festival. Take it to your bedroom, and wanky, I think was the term we talked about.
That ties into condom shop right there. So I don't.
Hashtag wanky.
So we have. We'll end
wouldn't
with
go
the
to that
final
one either.
question from Mark Atkinson here,
Good.
who has
Let me know the
a
comment shop.
short film that I happen to love, when How We Met Ronnie. It's part of our Film Threat Originals program on the Film Threat YouTube channel, which I suggest you all subscribe to. But yes, there we go. How We Met How We Met Ronnie.
Film promotion 101.
Yeah.
So it costs $10 a t-shirt.
So what's your question, Mark?
My question is, so if and this is to all filmmakers, I think you have a good idea for a feature. Is it better to make a short for proof of concept or a season?
Well, I don't think we're going to get everyone here to respond to the question. That's a whole other panel. But so should you make a short in, with the idea that I'm going to make the feature? See, I actually have less, I don't have a problem with this as much as some you guys do. I actually think that if it's about creating tone, I love that, because I actually don't think you need 3-act structure. I mean, I referenced some bizarre short films that you can all check out on YouTube, but I think really if you hit a tone, that tells me that, like, if you hit a tone and you were clear in your communication of what your goal was, you set an expectation of what you're trying to achieve, and you achieve it and even go beyond it, I think that's all you need to do. So I have less of a problem with that. But should short filmmakers...
Actually, yeah, I do have a...
Oh, yeah,
I'll respond to that.
Please, yeah.
Okay, so normally I would say I do like the 3-act story, arc on a short film. But there are times when I concede to that, and one of those, and I feel like this is like one of the best examples of this, was a short film called Batman Dead End. And
Oh, wow.
and the reason why I say that though is because this short came right after the atrocity that was Batman and Robin by Joel Schumacher, and this is when Warner Brothers gave up on Batman completely. This short came out, and it was so good and such a good proof of concept that it brought. It's the reason why we got Batman Begins, because
the reason we got AVP too.
Yes, because it was so strong. So if you have a concept that is so strong that it can't be denied, then scrap the 3-act story arc and go for the proof of concept. But
actually, if you look at that short, that short Batman Dead End, which you can look up.
It's on YouTube. It's well known.
That short to me he kind of created the Zack Snyder, for whatever you think about those DC movies, kind of like created that tone. He definitely, the filmmaker Sandy Collar, created the tone for that. So and it was really a standout from the time. So I think the plot of the movie is Batman fights something. That's it. He has a fight in the alley. Nothing else happens.
But it's an amazing. You see it for yourself.
It's done so differently, yeah. So okay, we got to wrap this up, unfortunately. So Anthony, you'll have the last word.
I just want to say something really quick. If you have a feature film idea and you're really interested in getting it made, a lot of people now are making graphic novels out of their ideas and pitching that as films. So that's a way to do it.
Graphic novel, it's a storyboard for a movie, right?
Pretty much, yeah, especially nowadays.
Yeah, well, go to San Diego Comic-Con. There are plenty. No, I'm serious. There are plenty of filmmakers that are. There are actually comic writers and artists there who have properties that, get made into movies. That's how Mystery Men got made, right? Discovered at San Diego Comic-Con.
That's how Preacher got made.
Preacher, Walking Dead. Those are all properties.
The shitty I, Frankenstein movie?
The shitty I, Frankenstein movie was a graphic novel. So, yeah, take your screenplay, and I know this is like a weird hurry up and wait business. Things move at a glacial pace in entertainment. I feel like you always need to be doing something. So if taking your screenplay and turning it into a graphic novel is a way to show an executive pictures, because they read pictures better than the words,
pictures.
Then maybe that would help you. But I want to thank everyone on our panel, Anthony, Bobby, Jess, Dante, Alan, and on behalf of myself, I want to thank everybody here, Lauren, Theo. Thank you so much, HollyShorts, for this panel. And thank you all the great short filmmakers here. Let's get out of here.